Alright guys, welcome to our modern F&M here at Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming. I am Ryan O'Loughlin, with me is Brian Huffman. Say hi, Brian.
Hi, guys.
We didn't have quite enough time for the intro, so we're jumping right into the match. On the right, we have Tim Scroggs on Kiki Chord. On the left, we have Levi Spencer on Grixis Delver. What are your initial impressions about the matchup?
Grixis Delvers can have some very aggressive starts, leading with the Delver into like early taskers or anglers. That can kind of be important to put some pressure on Kiki, and then would be able to leave up your mana to answer or counter some of the key spells that Tim is going to be sinking its mana into.
I think Grixis has the early game, but if it goes into the late game, that the Kiki deck is going to generate so much value that it might go over the top.
Kiki Chord is just a value machine, and like you said, as you move into the longer stages of the game, and you can set up some of those really strong chorded sequences, you can generate a lot of value and a huge board presence that a deck with small creatures like Grixis Delver has a hard time dealing with.
Right, and I see neither of these players doing anything particularly explosive, like a turn 2 Delver on the draw is
relatively unimpressive.
But but then again, when your Chord opponent hasn't done anything on turn 1 or 2 either.
Right. Some of Kiki Chord's most explosive and powerful starts, and when they can start early with a mana dork or into like a turn 2 Voice of Resurgence, which would then kind of put Grixis Delver on its back foot,
right,
and take it off its main game plan of gently interacting with your creatures and your spells, not just trying to beat you down with a little 3/2. So right now, Levi's just going to fetch up end step. It's kind of interesting to see the Kiki Chord player go the first 3 turns without a creature.
I am thinking to myself, what 7-card hand, did you know if he mulliganed?
I don't, actually. I don't know.
So if he mulliganed, this might make more sense, but I literally can't think of a 7-card hand I would keep that had 0 turn 1, 2, or 3 plays.
His mana fixing's quite good so far. You have
actually,
a lot of the important things. Unless he's
actually, it's not great because you don't have white mana and you have a single red. So you have it is a green-white deck that has a primary splash of red and a secondary splash of blue. But you have to keep in, so you primarily want green and white, but you also have to keep in mind you may have to hard cast a Kiki Jiki at some point. So no, I wouldn't say his mana is great right now.
I can see that. Delver's starting to do Delver things, even though it's a few turns late, with no pressure from Kiki Chord. Hey, we're going to get a look at his hand here.
We see Chord of Calling, Horizon Canopy, Resto, Pian Kieran, Forest, maybe Revlark. So like this actually is like a good grind hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's really slow, but all of these things generate value. The Pian Kieran is especially good against Grixis, I think, is really good against Delver because it's just like the lingering souls of this deck.
Right.
But it was.
You know what's conspicuously missing from Tim's hand? Second red source.
Yeah.
Unless one of those was a fetch land hiding up in the
nope,
corner.
it's a Horizon Canopy and a Forest.
So Delver's going to start doing the Delver thing, where he's going to aggressively attack with this 3/2, while trying to hold up spells, Mana Leak and Bolt, to remove the key creatures. That Tim's going to be a little choked here. He's only going to play 1 spell per turn, and we're going to see Levi with powerful answers.
Yeah, and right now his whole hand can be answered by either Lightning Bolt or Mana Leak. He can bolt the Pian Kieran, slowly let the Thopters chump block, and then Mana Leak the Restoration Angel. And the Revlark, while I like it in this matchup late game, right now it's not doing anything.
Ooh, Levi's getting aggressive with the bolt to the face.
He just wants to end this game.
It's real aggressive, though.
It's super aggressive, taking Tim from 17 down to 14.
Mm-hmm. He could be just trying to set up, since he's only he's choked on red mana right now.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to set up plays like Snap Bolts to maintain his tempo.
I see a Mana Leak.
He's got a Mana Leak, a Probe, another Snapcaster Mage.
Mana Leak is terrifying for this deck to play against.
Especially against the hand that Tim kept. If Tim would have led on some of the 2-drop creatures, like Voice of Resurgence, Scavenging Ooze, Wall of Roots, he would have been able to leverage some additional mana and maybe play 2 spells a turn later in the game. But
Delver swings for 3. Tim casts Restoration Angel, assuming before blocks. Levi responds with Mana Leak. Unfortunately, Tim does not have a spare 3 mana, so the Angel is countered, and Tim takes 3, going from 14 down to 11. 10?
Down to 10.
The Horizon Canopy. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, we're going to see a Delve for a big old Tasker. Yeah. So now we have a lot of aggression, swinging for 7 next turn.
If Tim rips a second red, he can play P and Kieran, which does give him 3 blockers, but the P and Kieran itself will die to a bolt to end a turn.
So is Basic Mountain your best draw here?
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, your board state still is not going to...
Tim's so far behind. It's about turn 5 of this game, and he's played 1 spell.
If he wins this game, it's going to involve a Revelark. It's going to involve, like, a couple creatures dying and getting answered, and then our Revelark coming down and generating a lot of value. But generally, like, Revelark is so good in this deck because you have all these early game creatures that will die, and then you get to use them in the late game to generate value, like Wall of Omens, Voice of Resurgence, Scavenging Ooze, even your Birds of Paradise. Mm-hmm. And Tim has had none of that this game.
We have no legal targets for the Revelark. Leave the battlefield trigger in the graveyard at this moment.
And the best thing that I could see happening if he drew a second red source this turn, and he plays P and Kieran, and it died, and then the next turn he gets to Revelark it back, that would be okay. But he didn't even get the second red, so he's just going to take 1 off the canopy and go from 10 to 9, play the Revelark. And if it gets bolted here,
it's not.
If it gets bolted, it generates no value other than getting the bolt out of Levi's hand, and that's a 5-minute. That's a huge tempo swing for.
I wish we could see. I might have been wrong with my call earlier for Snapcaster Mage. I think I see a young Pyromancer hiding out in Levi's hand. So with a casual attack with Tasker, I don't think he has access to his bolt.
Well, even this, like, I mean. He might be tempted to, like, make a trade here, which is better than it getting bolted.
So, Ryan, I see a lot of Japanese cards in Tim's hand. Can you tell me why that is?
I like them, and they're pretty, and this is my deck.
All right, so Ryan O'Loughlin lent out, as he does, one of his decks this evening, lent out Kiki Chord to Tim. Tim generally plays Elves, and he's trying to get more and more experience in the modern format, so he's trying out different decks before he chooses to invest in other creatures and other spells.
Is that a bird?
That's a chump blocker. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I mean that's fine. And that, like, if it happens to die before or at the same time of Revelark, that'll make the Revelark a little bit better.
Yeah. I think at this point, Tim's just trying to hope that Levi stumbles in his game plan here.
I mean, the fact that Levi used that lightning bolt as aggressively as he did. Because if he still had that lightning bolt, was able to bolt the Revelark,
6 damage off that Delver that he's missed out on.
Yeah, so because he could have bolted the Revelark, Tim gets 0 value off it, then he gets to attack with the Delver and the Tasker.
Yep. All right, so I think we have a gold card hiding out.
Terminate, Kolaghan's Command.
It could be a Terminate or a Kolaghan's Command. There's no really juicy targets for either of those.
So we're going to block and then Chord before damage, tapping the bird. So X right now is 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
For 4, maybe get Resto.
Oh, we're going to counter squall.
Okay.
Main deck counter squall.
So he's going to counter that, and then Tim will lose 2 life.
Is it 2?
Let's find out.
Or is it 3?
I want to say it's 2, but I haven't. That spell has not been cast against me in a while.
Tim's actually joining us in the search for counter squall.
Yeah, we got a reader. Apparently, I don't know the full address of Gatherer. It is not com. It is not net. I'm guessing it's not .edu. It's 2 Googles. All right. It looks like they took Tim all the way down to 3, so that must have put him from 9 to 7, and then an attack from Tasker puts him from... No,
Remember,
so it must have...
Tasker was blocks.
Okay. Alright, we're pulling up counter squall. Just be 1 minute, ladies
So I
and
have
gentlemen.
counter squall. It is 2 life. You're right.
It is 2 life. Okay.
It's negate with the additional lose 2 life.
Yeah, that's a Patrick Chapin card right there.
That is a Patrick Chapin card. So we have a spell sky. Tim trying to develop his board with the cheap creatures he's drawing this late in the game. We have a chance right now for Levi to flip both Delvers and attack for lethal. Tim drawing a card, activating Horizon Canopy, probably hoping to draw another 2-drop, or a Path to Exile. Oh no! So Tim's stranded with a Path to Exile in his hand with no white mana. Do you know how many white mana sources are in your deck tonight?
Temp Guard, Sync Foundry, 8 fetches.
All right.
10,
well, I think this.
11?
I think this game might be over. Levi just flipped his second Delver with a Cryptic Command, so that leaves him open to a lot of different routes here. He could simply just tap his opponent's team and attack, or just attack with both Delvers being lethal. Oh, he's trying to. Tim points to the Spellskite saying, "Can I redirect the damage to the Spellskite?"
Yeah.
All right. So Levi and Tim are gonna go ahead and move on to their sideboard here. You should know the Kiki Chord sideboard. After all, you are lending it to Tim. What things are hiding out there? What juicy pieces of tech do you have hiding in your Kiki Chord
larger
list?
cards that generate value. Like there's an Obstinate Bailoff. There's a second Nahiri.
I think you just threw it in there.
Yeah. There's a Huntmaster of the Fells. Which bring it in. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. The Glenalendra I kind of like.
I mean, it's a counterspell on a stick that you can reset with Restoration Angel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's all dependent on getting to that later stage of the game. What spells do you think you take out in this matchup to make room for some of those, 2-for-1s and cards that you have in there for against these control decks?
In the past, against this type of Lightning Bolt Snapcaster deck, I've left birds in on the play and trimmed them on the draw.
Okay.
Since I wouldn't recommend doing that on the play, as I said, and Tim will be on the play of this game. And then after that, I tried Wall Roots. You're against this Lightning Bolt deck, you're never going to have that bird until Wall Roots into turn 4 kill super fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to trim on the early game mana acceleration to play for a later game.
How many Kiki Jikis do you play in your main?
2, and against the Lightning Bolt decks, you usually cut 1. Yeah. You don't want to go off the combo plan, but you don't want to be dependent on it because this deck just has 4 Lightning Bolts and 4 Snapcaster Mages presumably.
Sure.
And then it may also have Terminates, Kolaghan's Command. Maybe they play Dreadbore. I don't know. There's a go for the throats.
There's probably, and knowing Levi, I've played against his Grixis Delver list before, I'm pretty sure there's at least one Murder's Cut hanging around in there for additional value.
Right, so you cut down on early game mana acceleration and try to add more value cards, trim a Kiki Jiki, usually. What about, we've both played a small number of Grixis, but I'll let you handle that one. Small amount.
So, Grixis Delver tries to do a lot of different things out of its sideboards, and being one of the control aggro decks, one of the fair decks in the format, a lot of times its sideboard slots are stretched a bit thin. So you try to look for cards that have a lot of overlap in different matchups. Some of the new additions that people have been trying out are cards like Collective Brutality. Sometimes as a consensus to dredge, even though Anger the Gods kills a lot of your own creatures,
right?
You may see a player have a copy or 2 of those. Depending on how his configuration setup is and what he's looking to see tonight, like if he's expecting any amount of affinity or some of these other decks, you may see him have extra Kolaghan's Commands, which are decent in this matchup.
What do you think about Meddling Mage on Lightning Bolt?
Wait. Why are we talking about Meddling Mage?
Because Tim is looking at the 2 Meddling Mages in the sideboard, and I'm wondering if he's because if you think about that,
Ryan, are they in English?
No.
Do you think Tim may not recognize that card?
No, but Tim will call a judge if he needs to get text.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just thinking, because how good is Snapcaster Mage against this deck if you can't Flashback Lightning Bolt?
I don't know. Meddling Mage to me is that kind of card that you want to bring in against combo decks.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why it's in there for the ad nauseums and the scape shifts of the world. But I don't know. I like to try things.
It could be silly. Tim may give it a shot. We'll see here.
I had one really degenerate game with Bait Company where I got to Meddling Mage Pyroclasm, and then the next turn Meddling Mage Oblivion Stone Phantasmal Image Kozilek's Return.
So what you're saying is his only out was to Karn 1 at a time.
Which he did.
Okay.
Don't play Meddling Mage against Tron, folks.
You tried.
I tried.
It didn't. Maybe it didn't work out, but you did try.
They were main deck meddling mages, so I don't feel bad.
So I think Tim's looking at trimming some of the same cards that you mentioned, Wall of Roots.
You could go down on a Chord too, because like this deck is extremely weak to things like Mana Leak, and if Levi's bringing in Dispels or Spell Pierces, which I've heard a lot of debate on Spell Pierce versus Chord of Calling Collected Company decks. I've heard a lot of people who like it, a lot of people who don't like it.
Sure, with the idea that they tap all their mana first and don't play around the Spell Pierce.
Right. So the thought is Spell Pierce against this deck that's like 28 creatures. That's terrible, but you almost always tap out for either Collected Company or Chord of Calling.
So essentially a Force Spike or a Spell Pierce would generally be enough.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see how this turns out. So Tim's going to start in the play. Let's hope that he finds a little bit more of an aggressive draw, maybe with some Birds of Paradise, and some of those cards that kind of wreak havoc on control. Spellskite, your Voice of Resurgence, maybe a well-timed scavenging use late in the game.
Wall of Omens is also not especially impressive in this matchup. It does, as always, it does draw a card, so I wouldn't necessarily sideboard it out. That's a mulligan. Breeding Pool, I think it was Breeding Pool and a bunch of 3 mana plus spells.
All right, so looking at Levi's hand, it seems like he has a bunch of creatures, but not a lot of lands. But I did see something. I saw an Anger of the Gods, and I do like we mentioned. I think that might be a bit of a concession, even though it kills a lot of his own creatures.
Delver and Young Pyromancer, the tokens.
That's the Snapcaster mage.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not like. I've seen 2 birds.
Do you keep a 1-lander and a bird against
the Grixis deck? No. Especially not when you have
on the play, so you don't have
you're on the
draw steps.
I feel like this deck mulligans well, and you can do better with 6. Because I mean, you play the bird gets bolted, and then your hand falls apart.
Let's see here. As
Maybe
Levi takes a peek at 6.
He may have more lands, and I'm just not seeing them.
Yeah,
because he is doing a good job keeping his hand away from the camera.
I don't know if people are a little camera shy or it just kind of happens instantly. So Levi actually has a nifty little hand. He doesn't have a lot of mana fixing, but he has access to basically a Scry, which he left on top, and a redraw in Island Thoughtscour.
Okay, so Tim plays Breeding Pool, goes from 20 down to 18, plays Bird of Paradise.
So here's kind of the draw, a little bit more aggressive. So Levi draws a Snapcaster Mage, and he does what every good bolt playing player does, and that's bolt the bird.
Right. So as long as he has a second land, I don't feel bad about this, but if he just plays another bird, I don't like the hand.
Oh boy.
We do have a Firelit Thicket.
That does not cast Voice of Resurgence.
That's awkward, but at least he has a second land. Okay, so and he does have another bird.
He does. So the bird's gonna.
Okay, so this is, but he has to tap. Okay,
that's fine.
And now he's just leaving up colorless. I mean, like he has a second land.
You're not bluffing anything here.
Yeah, he has a second land. That's the important part. Oh, that's
but the
brutal.
Bird is gonna die.
That's really brutal.
Yep.
Okay.
Levi's a man after my own heart. Just bolting every bird that comes into play. You have a bird? Don't worry, I have a bolt.
I see a Nahiri, a Restoration Angel, a Voice of Resurgence, a Kiki, 2 Chord of Callings, I want to say.
Yep.
Yeah, you just have
Tim's going to casually have to pass here. Now, Levi had the option of casting a Thought Scour at the end of Tim's turn to maybe draw a card, but I think he's going to try and pair it with a little
with a Young Pyromancer
value.
When you see weakness like this, I think it's good to save those plays, because I mean, Tim's in a bad spot, and I think you want to press your advantage.
Mm-hmm. So, did you happen to catch what Tim drew?
No, I missed it, but Levi is going to fetch down to 19 at the end of 10.
It must have been another just non-land.
He's going down to 17 probably to cast that Thought Scour, like he said.
Generate a little bit of that value and a little bit of that aggression.
Yep. Looking for Steam Vents.
Yep. So, I think Levi also had access to a basic swamp in his hands. So
right, so he doesn't
need any extra black mana. This
deck needs a single black.
Yep, and that's only to cast sorcery speed spells.
Do you know if he's played Cryptic Command?
He does.
Okay.
Earlier, I think he has a single. Earlier, he flipped a Delver with one of the Cryptics.
You're right. We were talking about that last game.
No worries.
My bad. All right. Thought Scour targeting himself
Yep.
Looks like. Yep. All right, Bulbasaur, man after your own heart.
Those are my Bulbasaur.
Oh, okay. All right, fair.
So Levi only has access to 1 or 2 tokens, and hopefully this Pyromancer is going to have a chance to make a bunch, so we left him a couple of little spicy tokens downstairs. He's got Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, and all of the evolutions.
Like it. Let's see this Bulbasaur evolve. All right. Levi swings for 3. Tim has no effects, goes from 18 down to 15.
So I'd really like to see Tim draw any land here, and hopefully be able to resolve a card like maybe Courser of Crewfix.
Courser is another like strong play that this
that doesn't die to Bolt. Oh no! Looks as though Tim drew. Was that his second Nahiri?
Yeah,
drawing up to 7 cards.
It doesn't die to Bolt. It's a great blocker. It generates you life. It draws you cards. It fixes your mana. I like everything about Courser against like Jund and Grixis.
So what are you thinking here? Is that Delver gonna flip?
Of course.
I don't know. Modern Delvers are really, really heavy.
Yeah, but I feel like
everything's already going Levi's way.
I feel like it's raining on Tim's parade, and he didn't bring an umbrella.
Say it doesn't flip.
All right.
Oh,
to anger. That's the worst, because it's just even if you do get a board, I'm going to answer it.
But I mean, I guess it clears all of Levi's board as well.
Yeah, but let's say Tim draws runner, answers Levi's board, builds his own board, and Levi has the anger.
So it really looks like Tim is on the ropes here and has about 1 turn to draw a land.
Levi swings for 6, takes Tim from 15 down to 9.
So I don't think Levi has any permission sitting in his hand, so Tim might have a chance to draw. All
right. It looks like he just passed
all
back.
The basics.
Yeah. Okay. That was still Levi's turn. And he drew Restoration
Are we gonna
Angel.
move to discard here? Tim's moving to discard. Dropping a 4-drop.
I wouldn't have discarded a Planeswalker. What if Levi just plays Forest Tarmogoyf?
I think we have Snap, Bolt, and Lethal here.
Yeah, I think that's snap back the Bolt and then swing for 6. And yep, all right. Levi Spencer on Grixis Delver wins over Tim Scroggs. We have the wrong record on the screen. I'm sorry about that, guys, but we do have Levi winning over Tim 2-0. We still have almost a half hour left in the round, so we're going to hop down real quick and see if we can get another match